Joining us in studio is Marjean Perhot. I had to say that right for your dad. I'm making sure I get that right for your dad. She's the Director of Refugee and Immigration Services for Catholic Charities in the Archdiocese of Boston. Marjean, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much. It's such an honor to be here.
Well, you know, you guys do such great work. Tell us about the work of Catholic Charities in Boston, the areas of refugee and immigration services.
Sure. So, well, as you might know, Catholic Charities has actually been serving immigrants and refugees since its inception in 1903.
Wow.
But we'll fast forward to 2015, and I'd love to talk to you about the work we do with refugees and immigrants. We provide refugee resettlement, which is basically welcoming people from war-torn regions such as Iraq, Somalia, Afghanistan, Burma, and get them set up in apartments and get them on a path to self-sufficiency and independence as soon as possible. And then our legal immigration services, we provide legal counsel and representation, basically a nonprofit law office for immigrants who are trying to become citizens, who are trying to become permanent residents, who are reuniting with family members after many, many years. And then excitingly, in our Community Interpreter Services program, we provide interpreters to limited English proficient people throughout the Commonwealth. And so our interpreters are being deployed in all different types of settings. And through our interpreter services, which is actually a social enterprise of Catholic Charities, we're able to fund a lot of the work that we do with refugees and immigrants.
Wow. And you were talking about families too. Maybe if you could expand on that. I know a lot of people hear in the news of children making their way to this country too. Maybe if you could talk about situations that would end up with the kids going out on their own and how that all interplays.
Right. And I think it's a really great question, Kevin, because there are a lot of children who are unaccompanied minors that come here and they cross the border, typically the southern border. And what they're fleeing is gang violence. They're fleeing the inability to grow up as a child. Their parents are making the very difficult decision to arrange for them to travel through a very scary desert. They're laying on top of trains to get through Mexico and to get up into the United States. And when they get here, the majority of these kids are reunified with a relative. So that's what's driving the children from the Central America region in particular. But then you have other families who are fleeing the war in Syria, and families who come here and seek asylum. We have families that we work with from Ethiopia, from Syria, from the Congo, from all parts of the globe that just cannot survive with their native land. And these aren't people who want to leave. If you ask most refugees or immigrants, did you really want to leave your home, your language, your culture, the familiar smells, the familiar foods of your country? And they'll say no, but I had no choice. We had no choice. We were being bombed, we were being targeted. We work with a doctor from Aleppo who went out to rescue people after a bombing, and he himself was bombed. A very prominent cardiothoracic surgeon, reduced to not being able to speak any longer, and who comes here and seeks asylum because their own governments cannot protect them adequately.
You know, it's a hot button topic, and you say 1903 when you started, and back in those days, and a little forward, there were the Irish coming over, there were the Italians coming over, and so many different groups. And sometimes I think, as all of us here, the melting pot that the United States is, we forget that a lot of our ancestors were immigrants. And when you hear people saying, well, whoa, hold off, we've got to realize that, no, that this is what we're about. It's about hope and opportunity. And I think Catholic Charities does a great service there. What about challenges, though, Marjean? I'm sure there's a lot of challenges you face.
Well, actually, I want to kind of build on what you were just saying, Jay, because one of the challenges, as I was thinking about our conversation today, is the way immigrants and migrants are portrayed in the media or in the newspaper. Let's remember, especially as Catholics, when we talk about somebody being illegal, we're saying then that God makes illegal beings. And that's absolutely not true, right? No being is an illegal person, because that would mean God himself is doing a crime. And so we need to really help to reframe how we're talking about immigrants and refugees. You know, putting a label on somebody like alien makes them a criminal already in so many people's minds. And that is a very big challenge that we are facing, especially as we are entering a new presidential race, and we're just always hearing that. And it's so dehumanizing to look at an immigrant who someone is just like, you're an illegal. you know, you don't matter. But we're all brothers and sisters. And so as you said, we have waves of migration that have come to the United States. People coming now look different than those who came 40, 50 years ago, but there's still people who are trying to build a better life, who are fleeing violence, and who, when they get here, actually do pretty well. You know, refugees and immigrants take entry-level jobs. When I get to go to Logan Airport to travel home, for example, I tend to see some of our refugees working behind the scenes at Legal Seafoods or Johnny Rockets, you know, in the airport, or pushing wheelchairs or doing security. And that's always such a proud moment, because those are the folks that have really succeeded. And so, yes, there are challenges, but I think one of the amazing things that I've noticed in the last 20 years is the courage and resiliency of people, and especially people who have been thrown some of the life's worst atrocities. These people have been tested for their faith, tested for their ethnicity, tested for their gender, and they survive. And so, yes, the challenges are a lot. You know, it's hard to learn English, especially if you're coming here at a later age. You know, sometimes it's hard to have to take an entry-level job, even when you've been a physicist or a doctor in your home country. But people put aside their pride and do those dirty jobs, and they are doing that for their children, and so that they all can have a better life.
And talk about that aspect too of is it a community type atmosphere for a lot of the immigrants that come over? You know, joining their own group, or people that they meet up with that are from their own countries. How much?
Well, I'm going to have to interrupt you there, Kev, because we only have a minute left.
We'll have to have you back.
We're going to have you back. Where can people learn more?
Well, of course, we'd love to have you visit our website, which is CatholicCharities.org or ccab.org, and you can learn more about refugee and immigration services, as well as all the other services that Catholic Charities provides. You know, we serve over 200,000 people a year, and we're very blessed to be able to do this work. And so we really encourage you to check out our website, and I'd love to come back.
Well, you are welcome, because Kevin certainly has a million questions.
You could answer that in 40 seconds.
He started, and I said, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And, you know, Father Paul O'Brien, who Kevin and I both know well, has a great thing going up there in Lawrence, Massachusetts, and he has this, what he likes to say is that labels are for jars. And I think that's so applicable to what we're talking about.
Right.
Labels are for jars, they're not for people.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Marjean, so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.